Hello everyone, welcome to the Lightworkers Cafe. Sound like an M&S advert.
This isn't just any podcast. This is the Lightworkers Cafe podcast.
This is a highly offensive podcast.
Oh, I don't think we've been that bad.
No, but
we
we're
could be a
about
lot
to.
worse.
Yeah, I'm a little bit nervous maybe about the subject that we're about to announce.
Yeah, it is quite. It's quite a touchy one, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's, again, this is just us having a chat. This is not us, you know.
Basically, we piss
saying,
you off.
Yeah.
We're just having a chat.
We're just having a chat. We're not saying.
Just having a laugh, mate. What's your problem? What's your problem?
It's not you, it's me.
Yeah. Translation: it's not me, it's you. We're going to talk about spiritual bypassing because we are brave,
Yeah.
and because
Or
it's
stupid.
important. Or stupid. Yeah, both. I think. It's actually a subject that is very relevant to what is happening this year with many revelations of truth, and also with this explosion of spirituality that's happened over the last few years, and particularly, you know, in the world of yoga, plant medicines, what else? Meditation.
Yeah. Just doing the work
Just
and
doing the
peeling
work.
back the layers. It's like, you
Yeah.
know, people are recognising now that, you know, healing is not easy. Whereas I think at one point it was all about just being positive.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
think positive.
Yeah, just be positive, put a smile on your face, nothing's wrong. But, you know, we know now that there's work to be done and it's not
and
pleasant.
it's messy.
Yeah. So people avoid it.
Yes. Yeah. And there is this. I suppose there is the existence of a change of scenery without a change of dynamic. That's, I think, a lot of us see in the spiritual community. There isn't really anyone that I talk to about this who doesn't recognise it.
Yeah.
Which is where you can put on the lovely clothes, you can wear
All the
lovely,
gear, no
all the
idea.
gear, no idea. Yeah, going back to podcast number 1. But if you're not facing your darkest nights and doing your inner work, your shadow work, looking at those horrible, mucky, grumbly, shameful, guilty spaces within yourself, and finding forgiveness and finding the light within them, then you're not going to give yourself the opportunity to really evolve. Yes, yeah. And I think what we're unfortunately seeing a lot of is posts splattered all over social media of like, oh, I am the light, be the light,
Be positive.
yeah. And this effort, very understandable effort, but slightly futile effort to stay in the light without acknowledging what's going on underneath it.
Of course, but it goes back to people not wanting to go where they need to go.
Yeah.
It's fear. It's fear that prevents growth. It's fear that prevents evolution. You know, it's this little voice that you shouldn't listen to, that you do listen to, that says, oh, I won't do that. I'll try and do it this way. I know that doesn't work. Oh, I'll try and do it this way. The only way out is through.
Yeah.
And until you recognise that, you're just going to be pissing in the wind, basically.
I've just got some slow motion image of like someone dressed all in white with ethereal
Pissing
music
in the
in the
wind.
background, pissing in the wind. Got piss in my face. You know, there's a lot of compassion for the fear of going towards fear, obviously, and
we've been there,
and still are there in many
of
ways.
course.
You know, I'm constantly surprised by how much darker I have to go. You know, you sort of have this impression.
Oh,
of,
you can go to.
Susie, see me go well dark.
She's well dark.
I can go well dark. but it you know, as you expand yourself or expand your consciousness, you're opening in both directions.
Yeah, exactly.
So you know, you are
Can't just
committing.
go in one direction.
No,
can you? You've got to keep it balanced.
exactly. And that the effort to try and stay in a light space because also because of a fear of not being accepted in any of your shadows, which is ultimately what it's all about. You know, we think these are parts of us that don't deserve love, that make us ugly, that keep us separate from union and things.
My biggest obstacle, well, the thing that scared me the most was not knowing what I was going to find. You know, and that was one of the, working with plant medicine, you go into these journeys and you don't know which way it's going to go. And, you know, when I went into a particular journey and that was my sole purpose, was right, I am going to face this. Whatever it is now, I need to just face it head on. And it took a lot of bravery. I had to really have the courage to do it. And it took me a while, because I thought about it for a while. I thought about it for a really long while. And I tried all the other options. No.
Maybe if I just go over here and twiddle this.
Exactly. I'm going to try this one. No, that didn't work. Shit. You know, till you are backed into a corner, and you have to go to that place. You have to go to the dark place.
Yes.
And it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I mean, it was pretty bad.
I was going to say, you're lying.
It was pretty bad. But the benefit of what I got when I came out the other side, I was just like, oh my God, it was that simple. Why the fuck didn't I do that sooner?
Yeah.
But that's where it is. It's fear.
There's nothing to fear but fear itself.
Well, that's a very good phrase.
Cliches. Popular because they're true. But it is so phenomenally true.
It really
that
is.
Particular cliche.
Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yes,
another one.
All the fear ones.
Yeah.
But you spoke about courage, and my big thing is, okay, so we're coming into a heart-centered paradigm. We're coming into a heart-centered collective. This is what we're evolving into, this ability to unite through this incredible wisdom of the heart. The heart is courage. The heart is strength. And this thing about light work, this image of light work being lots of us dancing around with fairy wings on, being like, oh, I'm a twinkly fairy, you know, just sprinkle stardust on all of my friends.
Running through fields with flowers in her hair, exactly. I think was one of the terms I used recently.
At some point you're going to run into a cow shit and you're going to have to deal with that, you know.
Face plant right into it.
Absolutely. And it's light work isn't light. Light work is hard. Light work is work, you know. And
it's excavation of yourself, isn't it? It's
completely.
Excavating yourself to the point of you need to clear this shit, but you have no idea what's going to replace it. You just have to go with it with a blind truth and a blind trust, don't you, really? And
the only way to make space for us to usher in and anchor more light into our current reality is by moving out that darkness individually. And
scooping it out.
Scoop it out like a shitty ice cream.
I was waiting for that. She's thinking about it. She's thinking about it.
You got any sprinkles? Sprinkles of hell. But I do think it's an important topic to touch upon, because it's really about us compassionately opening up the space for each other to go, do you know what? Let's just get all our shadows on the table and just, you know, love them. Let's just dare to love them.
Show us your shadow.
Yeah. Show you mine if you show me mine.
My shadow's bigger than your shadow.
I very much doubt it.
Actually, as I said that, I thought, no, it's not. No. It's all stages, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and when you see people at that point, you know, I come from a place of compassion, because I just think, come on, just keep going, just keep, because they're on the right track, but they have to push themselves.
They certainly do. Sorry, it's a really great point that I just destroyed with a whistle. No, I didn't destroy it, I just added to it. That's my shadow coming out and just being like, too serious. But I'm glad you raised the point of plant medicines, because this is another really strong topic at the moment of just highlighting that plant medicines are amazing. But it's not necessarily the answer for everyone. No. And you can still go and you can have 10 rounds of ayahuasca in 2 weeks, and you can still bypass. Well,
I know some people that actually have, and they still haven't got it. Yeah. They still haven't connected the dots, as it were, because you have to do the other stuff. You have to do the integration, you have to do all the things in between. Yeah. You know, it's not a quick fix.
Not at all.
It's phenomenal, but it's not going to give you all the answers. You have to keep working with it and keep working with it.
It's a diagnostic tool. It opens up your consciousness. It shows you what you request in your soul to see. And then you've got to come back into the 3D reality, and you need to walk through or walk up your mountain. You know, walk through your journey. Integration is so vital.
I love a mountain.
I love a mountain too. What's your favourite mountain?
Oh, well, there's a tough one. I'm going to say Kili, because obviously, Kili. Yeah, Kili, that one, that big one in Africa that stands up on its own.
She's just showing off because she's climbed it.
That's why I love it, though. That's why I love it, though.
Mine is Salkantay, because I did actually do an ayahuasca ceremony up there
Oh,
on a
amazing.
blue moon.
Phenomenal.
Yes, it was, and I saw a puma in a mountain that's scared the shit out of me. Actually,
Oh, wow.
But yes, in the integration subject is that this is where my heart kind of goes, where I feel that for those of us that are able, which is many of us, we really, really have a duty to make the space for those that are coming into this space of learning to integrate themselves, learning to take responsibility. I mean, don't get me wrong, like I still struggle with my self-responsibility, but I'm struggling a bit further down the line.
Yeah. It's a different struggle.
Yes, yeah. It's just like, oh, not this as well.
Yeah,
Like, I have to
yeah.
be responsible for that too.
Yeah. Well, it was, when you realise it's your fault, it's like, for
Yeah.
God's sake.
I have to be responsible for my bike and my home. And this, and
so
this.
Much, yeah. It's so much easier when you believed in blame.
I know.
You just, well, it's not me.
Yes.
It's not my fault. But then when you own yourself and you own your stuff, and the struggles come up, and you're just, well, all right, okay,
Yeah.
this is me again.
100% me. Yeah.
It's all about me.
Yes.
Literally.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I tell you, I do know some other mountains that I like.
Just to break the subject.
There's another one. Yeah, the Three Sisters in Squamish in Canada.
Oh, have you been up them?
Yeah.
Been up the Three Sisters?
Yeah. Yeah. Not all three of them. Just one of them.
Oh, right. Well, just making your way around
I completely
slowly.
digressed there. Yeah, I was just thinking there's some other ones that I know I really
Well,
love.
I'm pleased for you and your mountains.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I just love mountains regardless. But yeah, carry on.
Well, I think there's something very beautifully metaphorical about the climb up the mountain, isn't it? Because on your way up, you're just like, there's no way I'm going to make it to the top of this, especially if you're in high altitude and you're just like, done in.
And ironically, it's the coming down that's harder.
Yes, yeah.
Which, when you look at some of your journeys, personal journeys, when you're going down into the darkness, that is harder.
Yes.
Then we can go up, we can peak, we can all peak and feel success and achievement when we get to the top. But then you've always got to come back down again.
What comes after that peak?
Yeah,
indeed.
exactly.
Well, that to me is integration work as well. It's
totally.
like coming back down to earth and going, okay, well, what does this mean now?
Yeah.
That I've found this space within myself. I know it exists. How do I put it into my everyday as opposed to just drinking ayahuasca and finding it in a 2-night ceremony or something?
And I think that's it. People need to learn the art of integration. Some people just don't.
It is an art.
It certainly is, and you can't get any further down the line or further down the road or the path, whatever you want to call it, unless you're doing that integration. You're understanding what's just happened, and not just kind of doing that and that's it.
Yeah.
Tick, done that.
Integrated, isn't it?
we'll have a bit of integration.
You integrated.
I integrate better than you do.
Some of you might know me from such songs as I'm So Spiritual, which is a song I wrote 2 years ago. Quite honestly, certainly not to offend anyone at all.
No, brilliant. But it's terrific.
It's
absolutely terrific.
It was. I literally was just like, oh, look at what we're doing, and it was an observation. And so just to kind of bring it round, because I know the reason I was a bit sort of cautious, let's say, about this subject is that I don't want it to sound like we're wagging the finger at everyone going, you're bypassing and you're not doing your work.
It's not about that.
It's more like how do we all catch ourselves when we do go into a bypass process?
Because we're all guilty of it. I mean, we've all done it at some point or another.
Yeah, and it's just we are masters of avoidance.
Yeah. And we're human. We're having a human experience. We fuck up. That's what we do.
Well, I don't, but
whatever.
Lying is one of my shadows, clearly. Denial. But actually, this is where this is why we're doing what we're doing. It's like, how can we lighten the shadow, the conversation with our shadow, so that it doesn't become this big thing that we have to avoid. It's like we've all got these little shadows and flaws and sticky bits and things that we don't like, and if we just look at them and laugh.
We're good at that.
We're very good at that, yeah. Looking down the arsehole of humanity going, before getting a face full of shite. My metaphors are getting worse.
That one made me feel a bit sick. Considering we're in the middle of a colon claim.
It's probably where it came from. I channeled it from you. But I think it's important for us to be able to almost look joyfully on these foibles, these very sweet foibles. You know, if a child...
It's a great word, that is,
isn't it?
Foibles.
Great, foible.
Oh, I like saying that. Foibles, yeah.
But if you see, you know, you walk into a kitchen and a child sat there with chocolate all over her face, and you're like, did you eat
someone shout on you?
Yeah. She'd be looking down the arsehole of humanity. Poor child. Well, hopefully she's just had her face in chocolate. Was where I was going with it.
Exactly.
But you know that thing. There's so many YouTube videos of like, did you eat the chocolate? No, you know, and it's just like that very sweet observation
Innocence.
of where we avoid, you know, getting in trouble.
Yeah.
Which is what we're all trying to avoid all the time, isn't it? We just don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because kids don't recognise they have a self until they get to about 3. You know, so it is that kind of exactly that same mirror that people don't recognise that they're not their ego. They have a self. You know, there's two different things going on. I think that's very similar to seeing a kid with chocolate. He probably doesn't even realise it's, you know, that he's eating the chocolate. Yeah. It's that kind of, you know, complete innocence that there's two different things going on.
I know, I remember, I don't know why, I've got this kind of almost cinematic memory of myself as if I'm outside my body watching it. But I remember jumping in the bath with my vest on and then my mum saying, did you get in the bath with your vest on? And I'm stood there sopping wet, it's still in my vest. I'm like, no. Why did I think that was going to work? But it's that innocence. It's the innocence of our shadows. Like, we all have them, and they're all... And by ignoring them, we make them bigger, because, of course, that comes back to the fear thing. We're just building this barrier of fear.
Well, the patterns are going to keep repeating. Because if you've got the shadow there and you're not doing the work, then you're going to keep getting the same bloody thing, pissing you off, coming round, trying to teach you a lesson, and you're going to just gleefully ignore it.
Yes.
So it will just keep coming round.
And it perpetuates this blame cycle as well, because the universe keeps bringing people or things to you to reflect your projected shadow. And then if you're like, oh, this person's done this, or this person's doing this, or this person's really pissing me off, it's like, that's your shadow talking to you.
It's your reflection.
Because you're not receiving it, you're blaming the rest of the world for your current misery.
Yeah, reflection, projection, or lesson.
Exactly. Yes. Spot on. Says God again.
Buddha over there.
Buddha, yeah. It hasn't been the funniest subject, spiritual bypassing, but I think because it's quite serious.
It is a bit serious, and also as well, it's quite a difficult one to do without sounding like we're taking the piss, because we're not.
Yeah.
It's a delicate subject.
Yes.
Isn't it? Very delicate, because but it happens, and it happens in anything, not just in, you know, the spiritual realms. You can have a work colleague that just doesn't pull their weight, and it's like, you know, they're a lovely, lovely person, and there's nothing wrong with the dynamic. They're just not doing what they need to do, and it's like it still becomes that difficult situation.
Yeah.
You still need to talk about it at some point.
Yeah. And it's this ultimate, very hard to grasp collective responsibility of no one's going to do the work for you.
Yeah.
No one is going to do the work for you. And if you want to evolve, it really is down to you and you to make that happen.
Yeah.
And, you know, being able to be alone with yourself, I think, is terribly important.
Being able to be alone, being able to be quiet. I mean, you know, I've morphed into such an introvert as I've got older, because, you know, all the pompousness of my ego when I was younger, and this kind of defense mechanism that I used to use to kind of bat everybody away, and, you know, and this loudness and all this sort of stuff. I'm still loud now, obviously, but
super loud.
But in a kind of personal sense now, I retreat, whereas before I would put myself in a situation so I didn't have to acknowledge what I was feeling, thinking, you know, I'd be dancing, taking drugs, drinking, all that sort of stuff.
And so hence it came at you from the external.
Yeah.
You know, it's exactly the same for me.
Yeah.
You know, I was just constantly being met by disaster after disaster because it was all in my external reality, because I wasn't allowing it into my internal reality.
And it was, you know, I spent years of being a poor me, you know, and when you crack it open and you get to a point where you can look back, I still couldn't have done it any sooner because my journey was my journey, and that's just the way it is. And I think that's the other thing we have to remember is that everybody is exactly where they are meant to be.
Exactly.
And they are doing what they need to do at that right time for them, you know. And I suppose really it's about bringing awareness to keep moving forward. Some people get a little bit stuck. I've done it. I got stuck because I got in my comfort zone and I didn't want to then push myself into an avenue which scared me because I had to face the shit I didn't want to face. But, you know, when I did, it was great, and I needed to do it. It's the best thing I've ever done. Always move forward. Be aware and move forward. If you feel like your growth has begun to kind of go a little bit stale, then you know what you've got to do. You've got to do the work.
Do the work. Still waiting for that hit to come out. Susie's vetoed R&B, so not that I even like R&B.
I know, that's what made me. I was thinking,
I was just trying to go for what was the most ridiculous.
Shit.
Yeah, shit. Oh, thanks. I was actually just looking at where my arm pube used to be.
Okay.
I've got this arm pube on my wrist, which appeared about a year ago, I think.
Right.
And like, it's not an armpit pube, it's like on my wrist.
Okay.
And
it's a really thick hair.
It's a really thick black hair that just protrudes out the centre. And it went missing for a while, and then it came back very recently with the eclipses. And
She's a werewolf.
I was actually like, oh my god, arm pube's back. I've got a poem about this, which I'll read out at some point. But strangely, when it came back, I was like really grateful to see arm pube again, because it's like my
little comfort zone.
But it's like my little shadow hair.
Oh,
it's just reminding me that there's darkness amongst the light, you know. And it's like little arm pube
and it's
comes
growing
through.
on your arm.
Yeah. So, you know, I refer to
we'll
arm
take
pube.
a picture of the arm pube and we'll upload that.
It's not gross, like it's just the dark hair, but it sounds gross, I know. I'm going to have to let it grow again though, because I plucked it out. But yeah, I mean, you know, if you just think of arm pube when you're thinking about the inevitability of shadows. I mean, you might not have any arm pubes, in which case...
We're here to inspire.
Right. Yeah. Drawing from the most beautiful metaphors we can in order to bring intelligence to humanity.
Well done, us.
Yeah. And just to leave this on a joyous note, I really do feel, I think we both very much feel that this world is not going to survive without joy. No. And that is a huge part of our own personal enlightenment. You know, enlighten thyself. Yeah. Bring joy. Joy is the heart, you know. And
I love a bit of joy.
I love a bit of joy too.
Yeah. I don't think I would have got through some of my darkest times if it wasn't for comedy.
Yeah.
You know, I have a very humorous outlook, and even when things have been absolutely... I just had that joyous little part of me. That's what got me through it. Yeah. It's so important.
Yeah. It's recognising that this is all a big game at the end of the day.
Yeah.
We are loved by our benevolent universe.
Yeah.
And
we love you. We love everybody.
We do. It's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Shall we? Yeah. We love you. So close your eyes and picture a giant potato made of gold. Giant potato walks towards you because for some reason it has legs. That's about as far as I can go with it. Yeah.
The end.
The end. If you think that's too cryptic, then you just need to expand your consciousness and work out what the hell I was talking about.
There's a message in there somewhere, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
A walking potato made of gold.
Completely. I mean, you know, it's a prophecy.
Well, I mean, we are God.
Yeah, exactly. This story will come back in thousands of years, and they'll be like, "Oh my God, the golden potato."
Right, we'll leave it there then.
Yeah. On that note, we'll leave you with the golden potato, and you can fathom that one for yourselves. Deepest love to you all,
gratitude always.
Yes, big gratitude, and may we just have that beauty and that love and that space and that courage and that joy and strength to just own our shadows and give them a big squeeze.
Yeah.
They might pop, but that's okay.
That's just what happens.
Yeah. Love you very much.
Love you.
See you in the next one.
Bye.
You won't see anyone. Can't see.